He looks so chill.
But did he keep it stable?
Too stable.
He kept it stable, that's for sure. This is the baby line here that I rode. All right, everybody, so here at Crankworx, a lot of brands are showcasing product, taking media out for rides on new and exciting stuff. Jack, tell us a little bit about the system, how you're implementing it to broader bikes across the board.
Sure. So what we have here is a system, basically cable tied to the top tube of an e-bike, in this case the Strive-On. We're not selling it like this, but right now the technology's still relatively new to Canyon. And yeah, today, Whistler, everyone's normally pretty tired and beat after a week of riding, so we figured let's make the rides a bit more pleasant on an e-bike and get some more time descending and having fun. So yeah, that's why we have this kind of more proto setup for you guys. But the system itself is exactly the same as what's implemented in our production bike, which is the Spectral. Yeah.
Here we go. Dark crystal. Yeah. Good Lord.
What's the easiest way to pull it back and set it?
So what are you adjusting there?
I just turned it off to see if I noticed missing it, and I think I did. So I want to turn it back. I'm just gonna go back and forth the whole ride and see what I feel. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt like I was doing a lot. There was a lot more movement happening, and like I'd gotten used to it, so it was happening, and I wasn't like correcting for it. Whereas before, this was just kind of correcting for me.
How often do you ride with this?
I mean, this is the first time I put on the e-bike, so
okay.
This is ride 1 for me, so I'm learning as much as you are.
Okay.
So it's been pretty cool. Yeah.
He goes, yeah, bud, over the rock. Oh, look ahead, look ahead. Woo! SoCal guys in the wet. Woo! Turn it off, just undo that and slide it forward.
Yeah, quarter turn, half a turn back, and it should just pull forward.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then tighten it back up. Alright. So the system is now, oh wow. Okay. Yeah. I definitely feel a difference. So much moving and micro adjusting. Oh yeah, dude, there's so much more movement. I think I want to turn it back.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just we're starting to ride more, but I felt more fatigued in my arms pretty quickly.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like once you get used to it, and you realize like how to use it. Like, anything takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
But once you realize like how to take advantage of it, you start to ride differently, and then you take it off, and you're like, oh, I gotta like actually like do more work.
Yeah. It just felt like my front end was very hyper. Like instead of being more like just kind of driving forward, it felt like I was just doing this all over the place. This is it, huh? Oh!
Nice.
Oh, God. Oh, buddy. Yeah. Oh, my hands hurt so bad.
I know. Yeah, dude.
We did talk about on the trail, it sounds like some of your athletes from downhill to enduro experimenting. Potentially Canyon will be releasing something like this that consumers can buy to put on their Canyon bikes. Is that correct?
So I think we're always going to push for an integrated system. For now, like the size of this and these components, it would to be safe for a customer to ride. Like riding with this is fine for a pro to test, and for us maybe, for a couple of hours. But having all this on the top tube for catching your knee or whatever else is not great. So this is really a proto setup.
Okay.
So.
But there is a chance then that more models could be seeing this technology in the future.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. Yeah, so This is really the testing, and yeah, like I said, like if we want to get testing on a downhill bike, this is the fastest way for us to get the feedback. We're looking to implement K.I.S in a number of areas in the next years. Yeah.
One of the things we talked about on the trail, or on the pedal up, I should say, is the ability for Canyon to tune the leverage curve, right? I believe is what you called it, on these K.I.S systems. Can you talk about how you do that?
For sure. So, leverage curve is probably the most similar thing, which all of us will understand. Like the actual term is a torque curve.
Okay.
But what that is that's the behavior of the counterforce of the centering force, which is what Keep It Stable's doing. It's kind of creating a force through spring tension, which returns your bars to center and maintains kind of a more central position for your steering. And because of like the layout of the system, which is a cam ring, which is very finely tuned shape, what we have here, even the length of these straps as well, all of that can basically affect the leverage, the behavior of the torque curve. So we could create a system which is really hard to turn in the beginning, and then it can even have a digressive torque curve, so it actually gets easier to turn as you go through the steering range. And also we could have something which is super perfect and progressive, or you can go for various different shapes. What we have here is a curve which we're happy with. We developed it with Fabian after kind of licensing the technology from Syntace. So this is a Canyon's kind of our conclusion on torque curve.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that we're not, there's infinite options. It's kind of like if you when you develop a new bike and the suspension and the platform is dialed, but that's not to say in 4 years' time when you develop the next version of that bike, you're not going to try and make it more dialed.
Understand.
So.
So first impressions, what do I think? I gotta say I was a little bit skeptical. I do know that Robert enjoyed the system when he rode it at a media camp several months ago, but he also talked and said, I really liked it, but I would like to spend more time on it, which sadly he hasn't gotten to do yet. And I feel the same way. There was a lot of pros, and there were for sure noticeable differences in the handling and the behavior of the bike. And I also think in my physical feedback and effort, both climbing, but especially on the descending, it was, without having more time on it, right, and riding a bike I'm not super familiar with on a trail I've only ridden once, like 6 years ago, it's really tough to say it's amazing and everyone's got to have it. But I for sure noticed that when I turned it off, I felt a little bit less stable, no pun intended, right? Like the Keep It Stable system kept the bike a little bit more controlled, a little bit more straight. I didn't feel like I was constantly maneuvering and over and under correcting and spinning my hands back and forth on the bars. As someone who's not super familiar or comfortable with riding on wet routes, I really, I was riding it a little bit timidly and felt like I was constantly like making corrections back and forth when the system was off, and it just felt like the front end of the bike was just going side to side all over the trail. And then when the system was turned on, the bike kind of just felt a little bit more planted and straight, and like it just wasn't so easy to wander offline. And that was kind of a big takeaway for me. In the slower speed climbing bits or going up the fire roads, it felt like it required a little bit more of a conscious effort to like kind of turn that bar to get that spring and strap to move. But it wasn't bad. It didn't feel like it took a lot of energy out of me, but it was just like I couldn't just kind of use a finger and dip the bar. I kind of had to use a little more force to pull and hold it. But I think that rewarded on the descents and in the corners for sure. That bike felt very planted, very stable. And I would say as far as keeping it stable is concerned, the system keeps the bike stable. Whether that means it's awesome and everything should have it is to be determined, but stay tuned for more videos. Hopefully we'll get a long-term bike with the system on it so we can test it in a lot more scenarios that we're more comfortable with. But overall, I gotta say, it does what they claim. So props to Canyon. Thank you guys for coming along for the ride, and we'll see you in the next video.
Nice.
That's fine.
Just a little bonus.